When fans look back at the career of Tony Stewart, many see the winning of his third championship in 2011 as his crowning achievement. But what these people sometimes forget is that Stewart almost didn't have a chance altogether to try and get this title in 2011. But how is this? How did Stewart get to be in position to hoist the cup against the odds? To start, we have to flash back to 2008. Tony Stewart announced in the summer of that season that in 2009, he would be joining forces with Haas to form Stewart-Haas Racing. After 10 years of racing for the coach Joe Gibbs, after 33 wins, after 2 championships, Stewart took one of the biggest leaps of faith at NASCAR's highest level. Haas, as a cup owner for 7 years, only garnered a top 5 and 14 top 10s, and a 27th place average finish. The highest in points any of his drivers ever finished was 28th, with Mike Bliss in 2005 and Jeff Green in 2006. So heading into 2009, it was a bit of a mystery about how well he would run in his Crimson Old Spice machine. Haas already had an alliance with Rick Hendricks, so that would continue into 2009. Well, all the mystery was quickly quelled as Stewart won 4 races, made the chase, and finished 6th in points with a 10th place average finish on the season. 2010 was a bit down, as he only had 2 wins, but he still finished 7th in the standings. 2011 looked to be a year of redemption for Stewart. 3 weeks into the season, it was starting to look like it was coming together. He led the points after a heartbreaking 2nd place finish behind Carl Edwards. But this is where the true colors of his 2011 regular season were put on full display. The next 5 races saw the 14 finish outside the top 10, and by the time Talladega was out, he sat 12th in points, outside the chase. This continued well into the summer. A 9th and a 7th place duo propped him up, then finishes at 29th and 17th took him down, and an 8th place run at Kansas helped again. Then a 21st at Pocono hurt again, before a 7th place run at Michigan on Father's Day came into effect. With 11 races left until the chase, Stewart trailed Denny Hamlin and Clint Bowyer by a mere point in 11th. Around this time, rumors began to swirl that former Tony Stewart crew chief at JGR, Greg Zipadelli, was looking to move over to SHR as crew chief of the 14 car. So, on top of diminishing returns in performance, there was a budding distraction between crew chief and owner-driver. That led to arguably the lowest point of his season. At Sonoma, he pushed Brian Vickers and others into a wreck, ruining the Red Bull driver's day. And Vickers would get his revenge.
Yeah, this is early. Okay, no, this is just now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Vickers comes from the left side of the racetrack, or from on your screen comes from the right side of the racetrack across to run in the back.
The 39th place finish dropped him 15 points out of the chase in 12th, with 10 races to go in the regular season. Over the next few weeks, consistent inconsistency continued. After a 9th place finish at Michigan, he ran up to 10th in points, 24 markers ahead of 11th place Clint Bowyer, with 3 races until the chase. Stewart was not pleased with the status of his team, though.
I'll be perfectly honest, at this point of the deal, if we're going to run this bad, it really doesn't matter whether we make the chase or not, because we're going to be occupying a spot in the chase that somebody else that actually can run for a championship is going to be trying to take, because our stuff's so bad right now that we're wasting one of those top 12 spots right now.
Stewart's comments were followed up by a terrible 28th place finish that saw the 14 car finish 3 laps down. This led him to 10th in points, only 21 now over Brad Keselowski. The next week really began to turn Stewart's 2011 season around, as he charged up from 9th to 3rd in the final 10 laps of Atlanta. Going into the last race of the regular season, Tony Stewart would lead 11th by 23 points. If he were to finish 18th or better, he would be locked into the chase. While he ran mid-top 20, Stewart managed to improve as the night went on. And when it was all said and done, he ended up 7th, making the chase despite his winless campaign. He would be in a 4-way tie for 9th now, 12 points out of the lead as the points reset. The chase began at the Chicagoland Speedway, and after the race was rained out on Sunday, the stars of the Cup Series would race at the Illinois track on a cloudy Monday afternoon. The race boiled down to what many had in 2011: fuel mileage.
Will the lead change hands in the final lap, or can Stewart begin his championship with a breakthrough win? There are cars on the apron running out of fuel as Stewart takes the white flag. It was Kyle Busch, Andy referenced a second ago, on the apron out of fuel. Half a lap to go. Now Gordon's out of fuel.
All clear, keep coming.
You'll see Gordon there. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, all slowing out of gas. Tony Stewart, the fuel holds up. Tony Stewart opens the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with his first win of the season. There are cars running out of gas everywhere around this racetrack.
The next week at Loudon saw a similar result.
So we've already seen one run dry. And Stewart is stalking. Report from pit road. Boyer is questioning whether he's running out of fuel. Here comes Stewart.
Yeah, there it is. He's out.
Stewart to the lead. 2 laps to go.
Now does Tony have enough fuel?
It was this race a year ago. Stewart led coming off turn 4 to the white flag. And he ran out of gas. Is it going to be different this time?
He's got a big lead. He can sit on that. He doesn't have to run very hard.
White flag is up this time. 1 lap to go.
Looks like Brad Keselowski took second away from Greg Biffle.
Final lap in New Hampshire. Watching Tony Stewart to see if he's got enough fuel to make it the advantage he has. He's up 7 seconds on Keselowski now as other people begin to fade.
Take a deep breath, I got this.
It sounds like he's got plenty of fuel.
So if he was stalking him, he knew just what he was doing. 2 wins in a row to start the chase.
Way to go.
Tony Stewart wins at New Hampshire.
Leaving New Hampshire, Tony Stewart led the points by 7 over Kevin Harvick. With 8 races remaining, a championship run was actually in the cards, but Dover came with a sudden crash down to earth. Stewart struggled mightily, and going on to finish 25th, 2 laps down, and as the 12th and final chaser on the grid. This dropped him in a tie for 3rd in points, 9 points behind tied leaders Kevin Harvick and Carl Edwards. Kansas the next week wouldn't help his title chances either, as Stewart ran in the top 5 for much of the day, but it wouldn't translate into a good finish. Due to late pit issues, the driver of the Office Depot Chevy would come home 15th. Stewart would be 19 points behind Carl Edwards with 6 races to go. So in 6 races, he would also need to pass 6 other drivers. To get the championship, Tony Stewart needed to shore up the inconsistent holes in his team's performance. At Charlotte, he started on the pole and led a lot of laps out front that night. This led him to another top 10 with an 8th place run. While good, it still lost him ground to the leaders. He now was halfway through the chase and 5th in points, trailing Carl Edwards by 24 points. And behind the scenes, Stewart and other ownership at the team informed crew chief Darian Grubb that he would not return to the organization in 2012. So halfway through the chase, Stewart was bleeding points, and the leader of his team was basically cut off from what the team's plans were only a month and a half from that point. It was beginning to look like the makings of a lost season. He would need Talladega to spare him from trouble in order for him to keep and start a comeback. Stewart went on the offensive and led for as much of the time that he could. This ended up gaining him a bonus point not only for leading a lap, but another for leading the most laps. After a hectic final restart, Stewart wrestled his way to 7th place on the finishing order. This jumped him up to 4th in points, 19 back. And with 4 races to go, he was still clinging on to the championship. But the next 2 weeks would change everything for Stewart.
And Stewart trying to get around Jimmy Johnson.
He's got him cleared off 4.
To the lead, Tony Stewart, 2 laps to go. Do they get to the white flag without another yellow? Can Johnson get the Stewart's back bumper? Here they come.
Joey Logano into the wall.
Far in the wall,
Hard.
turn 3.
White flag's out, though.
Logano still driving around. We are on the last lap. Stewart Johnson, Gordon. Will there be a bump and run? He's going to try it. Johnson gets there, but not enough. Tony Stewart wins at Martinsville. Tony Stewart, as he comes off of turn number 4, 1 lap away from victory.
White flag here, white flag. Bring it home.
Stewart started this championship with a win at Chicagoland, backed it up the next week with a win at New Hampshire, then had the terrible race at Dover where he finished 25th. Not all that impressive at Kansas, 15th, but then 8th at Charlotte, 7th at Talladega, the winner at Martinsville last week, and a dominator today. He'll gain ground, not a ton, as Carl Edwards is going to finish second. But with his 4th win in 8 tries in his bid for the championship, Tony Stewart takes the checkered flag at Texas.
Tony, nobody has ever gone winless in the regular season and come out and won the championship. You are on your way. 3 points within Carl Edwards. What do you have to say to your competition this week?
I don't think we have to say anything. I think our performance today spoke for itself, so he knows already, trust me.
After 2 wins and other drivers' problems, Stewart was one of the only 2 drivers left. Stewart sat second in points, only 3 points behind Carl Edwards. And the next week at Phoenix saw no change and tons of action. Edwards and Stewart both led laps, but Stewart dominated the day, leading 160 laps. Unfortunately for both, the race was once again decided by fuel. Non-chaser Casey Kane won, while Carl Edwards beat out Tony Stewart in position and broke even on points. And heading to Miami, 3 points still separated the 2 remaining championship drivers. Carl Edwards rolled off from the pole, while Stewart came from 15th. While Edwards racked up the laps led, Stewart had issues with debris, and he hit a piece, punching a hole out in his grill. Stewart would need to go from back to front again, creating a spectacle of emotionally heightened proportion. The duo of Edwards and Stewart were the class of the field, and when rain brought out the final yellow with 50 or so to go, it set the table for the 2 to duel for the finish, and with 36 to go, the green returned and allowed the 2 drivers to fight it out. Stewart jumped out ahead of Edwards and was set to maintain. The 2 drivers were tied in the points, Stewart owning the tiebreaker due to having the most amount of wins and having more wins than Edwards. And in the end, the 99 just didn't have a chance.
White flag here, white flag. Bring it home.
Final lap. Stewart and Edwards, first and second. Winner takes the championship.
This is just the most incredible run I've ever seen after race car driver, what Tony Stewart has done in this race and tonight.
Yeah, I think it's the best driving I've ever seen, and Carl Edwards did an incredible job too, but this is the man right here, Tony Stewart.
2002, he was the champion. 2005, he was the champion, those driving for someone else. This time, he's an older driver, and he's going to become a 3-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion. Tony Stewart wins it.
So we got it? We got it. We got the tiebreaker, baby. Awesome job.
For the first time in NASCAR history, the championship came down to a tie, with Tony Stewart winning his 3rd and final championship. Because of everything he had to go through in this season and the comeback over the final 5 weeks, coming to a crescendo with a 36-lap duel, I truly think that this championship victory is the crowning achievement of Tony Stewart's illustrious career. But that's all I have to say on this issue. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of Tony Stewart's 2011 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series title? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.